Leo, my strong-hearted one, what if I told you a lawyer holds the key to a major turning point in your life right now? That a message urgent, unexpected, but long overdue is about to change not only your finances, but the way you see justice, worth, and divine timing? You didn't click on this video by accident. I truly believe something pulled you here. Maybe it was a quiet whisper in your chest, maybe it was a restless energy you couldn't quite name. But you felt it, that a storm is building behind the scenes. Not the kind that destroys. The kind that sweeps away delays and clears a path. And you, Leo, are right in the center of it. Today's message is clear. A lawyer or someone in a legal or official role is going to deliver a decision, or a revelation, that unlocks something big. This could be money that was delayed, a legal issue resolved in your favor, a contract, a settlement, or even news from someone you thought was long gone. And with it comes more than just financial relief, it comes with clarity, closure, and a sense that the universe didn't forget about you. Right now, we're in the middle of some heavy cosmic movement. Pluto is interacting with your solar 6th house, the space of responsibility, karmic dues, and legal matters. That's why things may have felt out of control lately. But here's the truth most astrologers won't say outright: sometimes the chaos isn't punishment. It's preparation. And what's being prepared for you is a clean slate, not just in money, but in how you carry power. Let's be real. You've waited. You've held on longer than most people would. And some days, it felt like nothing was moving. But October is different. Energetically, this is a month of divine rearrangement. The key is already turning, and all you need to do is stop gripping the old doors so tightly. So here's what I want you to do, not because it's a ritual, not because it's superstition, but because your energy matters. If anything in your body, your gut, your dreams has been telling you that something big is about to change, I want you to type it into the comments. Affirm it. Claim it. Say, God is turning the key to my life. Write it, breathe it, own it. Because words carry frequency, and frequency shifts outcomes. Let me also take a moment to thank you. Deeply. For every like, every comment, every subscription. You don't know how much it means. Every time you engage with this space, you're not just supporting me. You're anchoring a field of light that allows these messages to reach others like you, the ones quietly waiting for signs. This isn't just a channel. It's a spiritual ecosystem, and you're a vital part of it. So stay with me until the very end, Leo. Because what the universe is about to reveal through today's cards will shake loose everything that's been stuck. Financial storms are coming not to destroy, but to cleanse. And if you've been praying for breakthrough, your answer might be in the next few minutes. Now let me ask you something real. What brought you here today? What has your spirit been asking for? Take a second and put it in the comments. Not for me, but for yourself. To witness it. You're not just watching this. You're a part of this energy. And trust me, Leo, this one was meant for you. There are moments in life when something long delayed finally begins to move, not with noise or fanfare, but like a quiet tide rising beneath your feet. Leo, if you're still with me, then I want you to listen closely to what this moment is trying to tell you. I'm not here to give you false hope. I'm here to speak to that part of you that's been waiting not just for an answer, but for fairness. For closure. For something real. And right now, I see that something is coming in the form of a message. A legal one. A serious one. And it could change everything. There's a strong possibility that someone in a legal or official role, a lawyer, a mediator, an authority figure, will soon reach out with unexpected news. It may come through a phone call, a formal letter, or even through someone connected to a financial or legal situation you've been involved in. Maybe it's a case that was stalled. A contract that went cold. An inheritance you had stopped thinking about. Or simply a situation that demanded justice and never received it. Until now. But let's go deeper. Because this isn't just paperwork. This isn't just about winning something external. This is about a moment of return. A karmic moment. A universal balancing of scales. And Leo, you, of all signs, know what it feels like to carry pride silently while being misunderstood. This isn't revenge. This is restoration. And it comes when you've done your part, even in silence. Especially in silence. Astrologically, the Sun approaching Pluto in your 6th house is no small thing. The 6th house governs daily burdens, responsibilities, debts, emotional, physical, spiritual. It's the part of the chart that asks, what are you willing to carry, and when is it time to put it down? And with Pluto there, this is a cosmic audit. It reveals what no longer serves you, but also what you are finally due. Think of this as the close of a long chapter where you've been working, waiting, and wondering. But not without purpose. And so, when this message comes, whether it's financial, legal, or relational, receive it for what it truly is, not just a solution, but a sign that the tide has turned. A door is opening, but it is opening because you stood at it with integrity. That matters. In a world that often rewards noise and speed, you stayed rooted. And now the roots are blooming. This is the kind of breakthrough that doesn't just impact your bank account, it shifts how you carry yourself. It allows you to exhale. To feel seen. To finally say, yes. This is the justice I prayed for, even when I didn't know how to ask for it. And maybe this is where we stop and check in. Is there something inside you, a contract you've been waiting on, a truth you've needed validated, a payment long overdue that still lingers? Don't let it sit quietly. Speak it. You don't have to say it to the world. But say it in the comments if you feel moved. Sometimes naming something is what moves the energy. So go ahead, Leo, what have you been hoping to hear? What truth is waiting to find you? What's coming isn't random. It's been on its way for a long time. But sometimes the universe waits until you're fully ready, not to receive the reward, but to own it. And from what I can feel, you're more than ready. You're not just receiving a call. You're being called into something higher. Let it in. Let it happen. Sometimes, things fall apart not because something went wrong, but because something finally got real. If you've been feeling like parts of your life are unraveling, a plan delayed, a relationship unexpectedly shifting, or even a job falling through at the last minute, I want you to know, you're not broken. You're being broken open. And I know that may sound like a soft way to explain hard things. But let's be honest. The things that hurt the most are often the things we were clinging to the tightest. And this moment, Leo, is where you're learning how to let go with grace. The card that showed up for you, the Death card, is often misunderstood. People panic when they see it, imagining endings, loss, grief. But anyone who's lived enough life knows that the real heartbreak isn't when something ends, it's when we stay stuck in something long after its season has passed. The death card doesn't come to take something from you. It comes to return you to yourself. It's a sacred invitation to stop watering dead soil and start planting where the ground still breathes. In this case, I see this ending not as punishment but as protection. And it may not feel like that at first. Especially if what's shifting feels sudden. A deal that gets pulled. A move that's postponed. A partnership that drifts into silence. But underneath what looks like disruption is direction. The universe doesn't waste energy. If it's being moved, it's because something better is being made ready. Let's talk about the energy work here, because this is where you take some power back. This isn't a time to wait for life to happen to you, this is a time to work with what's happening. Start simple. Each morning this week, try giving yourself just 10 minutes of silence. Sit by the window. Put a few drops of orange or lemon essential oil in your palms and breathe deeply. Let that citrus energy reset your nervous system. That brightness, that clarity is what you need right now. Write down 3 things you're ready to release this month. Don't overthink it. Just write what no longer feels like home in your body, your thoughts, your space. Your physical body needs support too during these transitions. When you're under energetic change, your adrenal system is working overtime. Try pulling back on sugar and caffeine, not to punish yourself, but to give your body the softness it needs to recalibrate. A small shift like this can create big emotional space for newness to enter. Think of it like clearing a shelf for something better you haven't received yet. And here's a deeper layer you may not know. The death card in numerology is linked to the number 13, a number long feared, yet sacred in many traditions. 13 is the number of transformation. It strips away illusions and leaves you with truth. Not always pretty, but always clean. Always honest. Always enough. So if something in your life is closing, don't panic. Pause. Don't beg it to stay. Bless it as it leaves. Because every closed door isn't just an end, it's a hallway. And I see clearly that there is a financial opening forming on the other side of this release. Not in the distant future. But soon. The energy is already circling. You don't have to chase it. You just have to be ready to receive it without dragging what no longer belongs to you behind you. If you felt something ending, I invite you to say it in the comments. Not for attention, but to acknowledge your own clarity. What are you releasing this month, Leo? Let's write it, so we can rise through it. Together. Sometimes opportunity doesn't knock, it sends you a flight confirmation, a job offer from a city you've never been to, or a call from someone you haven't spoken to in years. Leo, this part of your journey may not look like the jackpot at first glance. It might look like a detour. But what I see in the energy of this moment, in the alignment of your chart, and especially in the 3 of Wands, is a turning point disguised as a trip, a shift, or a simple yes to something unfamiliar. This card, the 3 of Wands, is about expansion. Not the loud, dramatic kind that the world notices instantly, but the kind that starts with a step. One step outside your comfort zone, one step into a space you don't control. One step in a direction your mind hasn't quite caught up with yet. It's the energy of standing at the edge of a dock, suitcase packed, and realizing the boat leaving isn't taking you away from anything, it's taking you to you. Astrologically, this is deeply supported by Jupiter, your chart's cosmic magnifier, activating the 9th house of foreign opportunities, long-distance blessings, and spiritual perspective. This house doesn't deal in small changes. It deals in expansion of your entire worldview. So if you're receiving invitations lately to speak, to travel, to collaborate with someone far away, it's not random. And it's not just business. It's alignment. This is Jupiter's way of saying, you've outgrown your old borders. Let's make them bigger. The thing is, expansion doesn't always feel safe at first. It feels unplanned, inconvenient, even unreasonable. Especially for a sign like Leo, who thrives in places where they feel strong, seen, and grounded. But sometimes the spotlight follows you into unfamiliar rooms. And sometimes your next big opportunity won't meet you where you've always been, it's waiting where you've never gone. This is why I encourage you, gently but clearly, if an unexpected trip, conversation, or new location shows up this week, say yes. Even if it's messy. Even if you're unsure. Even if it's not exactly the right time. Because the truth is, there's no such thing as the perfect moment for a breakthrough. It just arrives. And your only job is to be open enough to see it for what it is. On a practical level, wear something this week that signals yes to change. Turquoise, burnt orange, these aren't just colors. They hold frequencies of growth, clarity, and movement. When you choose them intentionally, you're not just getting dressed, you're aligning your field. You're saying, I'm ready. And sometimes that's all the universe needs to hear. If you've been hesitating on a choice lately, a trip, a move, a shift, ask yourself this: are you waiting for certainty, or are you avoiding the discomfort of growth? Because rarely do both exist in the same room. And maybe, just maybe, this reading is the sign you asked for. The one that tells you the discomfort is worth it. Let me ask you something directly. Have you ever turned down an invitation out of fear? Have you delayed a journey, literal or emotional, because it didn't feel safe? And could it be that the moment you've been asking for is actually on the other side of that yes you keep holding back? If something inside you just said yes, even softly, write it in the comments. Name the place. Name the shift. Tell the truth. Because declaring it even anonymously starts to move the energy around it. You are not stuck. You are at the edge. And the wind is shifting in your favor. Sometimes life doesn't give us justice right away. Sometimes it waits until we've grown strong enough to hold it. If you've ever walked through a situation where you knew in your heart you were right, but the world didn't catch up, this message is for you. The Justice card doesn't just represent a legal decision or a courtroom victory. It symbolizes the return of balance. It's that sacred moment when what was heavy becomes light again, and what was unfair begins to shift back into place. And Leo, if you've been carrying something on your shoulders quietly, maybe even for years, this part of your journey says it's time to set it down. When this card shows up, it isn't about revenge or proving a point. It's about restoration. About seeing things for what they are and finally receiving what was always yours to begin with: respect, clarity, acknowledgement. You might receive literal news documents signed, cases closed, or overdue funds released, but more than anything, This is a moment where your energy field gets cleaned of old distortions. That feeling of, I've done all I can, when will it come back to me? That's being answered now. Astrologically, Venus forming a harmonious trine with Saturn supports this message in a powerful way. Venus rules value, relationships, and peace. Saturn represents structure, time, and responsibility. Together, they offer long-lasting rewards that are grounded and stable, not fleeting victories, but enduring foundations. So if you're receiving a message, settlement, or recognition during this time, understand that it's not a fluke. It's a cosmic confirmation that the seeds you planted in integrity are finally bearing fruit. But let's talk honestly. Even when justice comes, we sometimes struggle to receive it. We doubt ourselves. We wonder if we really deserve it, especially if we've been hurt or disappointed in the past. That's why this moment is also about inner work. Real justice is not just about external outcomes, it's about believing we are worthy of them. This is where I want you to take a deep breath and ask yourself, what if the win you're waiting for isn't just about the money, the contract, or the call, but about finally giving yourself permission to feel worthy again? Here's something simple I want you to try. Open a journal, or even just your notes app, and write one sentence. The reason I deserve this victory is. Let yourself finish that sentence, even if your voice shakes. Even if you don't feel 100% ready to believe it yet. Let that be your starting point. And tomorrow, write it again. Because every time you tell your body, your mind, and your soul that you're allowed to win, you begin to attract outcomes that match that vibration. Another practice I recommend in this phase is one of the most underrated tools of healing, looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I've done so well. I'm proud of how far I've come. This may sound silly at first, but self-witnessing is deeply powerful. We often wait for others to recognize our growth. But what if that recognition started with you? If any part of this reading resonates with you, especially if you're in a legal process, a situation of unfair treatment, or a chapter that needs closure, I invite you to declare it. Say it out loud in the comments if you feel called. I am ready to receive justice and blessings. Not because I need to see it, but because you need to see it. Sometimes, naming it is the first sign you believe it's coming. You've walked with grace through seasons that others couldn't even imagine. Now comes the return. Not because someone's handing it to you, but because you earned it. And you're finally ready to hold it with both hands. When we reach the end of a long cycle, especially one filled with waiting, uncertainty, or personal tests, it's natural to want the reward to come quickly, loudly, unmistakably. But some of the most powerful shifts arrive quietly, like sunlight drifting into a dark room. And this is where the presence of Archangel Jophiel becomes so meaningful. Not because something dramatic is about to happen, but because something subtle and lasting already is. Jophiel, often called the angel of wisdom, beauty, and inner illumination, carries a message that many overlook, not because it's unclear, but because it asks us to slow down to receive it. This is the voice that reminds you that your dream is blooming, even if you haven't seen the flower yet. That your breakthrough isn't stuck, it's unfolding underground, like roots growing before the tree appears. And Leo, after all that you've been walking through, the changes, the closures, the courageous steps, now is not the time to panic. Now is the time to practice beautiful patience. The message that came through this card, and the energy around you now, is one of quiet preparation. Not the hustle of trying to force results, but the stillness of trusting timing. You've already planted so much. This isn't the beginning of the journey. This is the space between effort and reward, the sacred pause. And what Jophiel teaches is that there is beauty in the in-between. Wisdom in the waiting. If you can soften into this phase instead of rushing past it, you'll feel it, the peace of alignment replacing the pressure of expectation. There are gentle things you can do during this time that don't look like action, but create powerful momentum. Start your mornings slowly if you can. Before the world asks anything from you, ask something of yourself. What do I actually need today? Try writing down just one line that brings you back to your center. It could be a phrase like, I am safe where I am, or what's mine is already on its way. Don't worry if it's poetic. Just let it be real. Add something small to your space that reminds you to stay open. A single yellow flower in a glass jar. A candle in the corner of your desk. Wear something in golden hues. These aren't superstitions. They are choices that signal gratitude, warmth, and trust to your subconscious, all-powerful frequencies when navigating change. And yes, your body needs tending too. In times of energetic transition, your emotional systems can pull more deeply from your physical reserves. This is when warm, nurturing foods can help you stay grounded. Sunflower seeds, pumpkin, roasted orange vegetables, they're not just healthy. They carry the color spectrum of hope. Nourishing yourself is part of believing you're worthy of the harvest. But here's the deeper invitation, Leo. Can you hold the dream without rushing to force it into form? Can you believe in your future before it arrives at your doorstep? Not because you're pretending, but because you know. Because you've lived enough to recognize that sometimes, the most powerful transformations don't make noise. They bloom in silence, in stillness, in self-trust. So I'll ask you this now, from a place of deep respect. Have you allowed yourself to dream of something even bigger than what you've asked for? And more importantly, do you truly believe you're worthy of it? If that stirred something in you, even a small spark, I want you to write it down below. Let this be your way of saying yes, not just to the dream, but to the version of you who will live it. You're not waiting anymore. You're aligning. And that changes everything. Leo, if you've made it this far, then something in your spirit already knows this message wasn't random. You didn't just stumble across this video because you had free time or were curious about your sign. You were guided here because you're in a moment of transformation, and the universe is responding to everything you've been quietly holding, everything you've been faithfully waiting on, and everything you've been brave enough to release. Right now, the energy around you is shifting, opening, revealing. And what comes next has everything to do with how you choose to show up for it. This reading was never about predicting your future, it was about preparing you to step into it. Every card, every alignment, every reflection was a doorway not into something outside of you, but into the you that's finally ready to stop surviving and start receiving. The you that is no longer proving, chasing, or settling. The you that recognizes your own worth not because someone handed it to you, but because you remembered it was yours all along. So now the question is, what will you do with this moment? Will you write that one sentence that shifts the energy forward? Will you finally say yes to the thing that keeps knocking on your heart? Will you show up differently this week for yourself, your dreams, your boundaries, your joy? Here's something I've learned over years of reading for thousands of people. The universe always responds to courage. Not perfection. Not timelines. Not having it all figured out. Just one real moment of courage. One action. One declaration. And so I ask you now, with deep trust in your ability to create the life you want, what key are you ready to turn? If this message moved something inside you, I invite you to anchor it in. Write it below. Say, God is turning the key to my life. Let that be your confirmation to the universe, not that you're hoping for change, but that you're ready for it. And before we close, let me thank you. Truly. Your time, your energy, your presence here on Eternal Mindfulness means more than you know. Every like, every comment, every subscription isn't just support, it's a ripple of light that helps this space reach someone else who needs healing, clarity, and hope just like you did. So if this reading felt like it was written just for you, maybe it was. Maybe today was the day you were meant to remember who you are and where you're headed. And if you feel that in your heart, then stay connected. Subscribe, share this with someone who needs light, and know this, you are not alone on this path. You are walking through a door that was always meant for you. And trust me, Leo. What's waiting on the other side? It's not just money. It's not just clarity. It's your crown. Wear it well.